My name is Jiles Smith, and welcome to our community. So what exactly does a CEO do?
Well, I always think the easiest way to explain it is if you think of a business, a corporation, every corporation has an elected board that kind of makes the policies and makes the decisions. And every one of those corporations hires a chief executive officer to advise them and then to implement their decisions. And that's really what the CEO of the county does. Kind of takes responsibility for making sure that the organization is doing what the board has directed them to do.
I understand the board has a balanced budget this year.
Absolutely. We never, since I've been here 4 years, we've always had a balanced budget. Mm-hmm. Now that's different though than saying that our ongoing revenues are matching our ongoing expenditures. So we always balance our budget. I mean, that's very important, that's critical. But what you want to do is get to the point where your ongoing revenues and your ongoing expenditures at least match. Ideally, just like at home, you got more ongoing revenue than you got ongoing expenditures. We're not quite to that point yet. The other thing that we're not quite there yet on is having all of the things in the base budget that we would like to have. Our service levels aren't as high as we would like, and really that's what the board and I and all of the employees have been working on, is getting the service levels up. But in these economic times, that's a bit of a challenge.
Now, I like what you're saying there. It would seem that you work very closely with the unions as well on giving back and working as a collective, not as individual groups. It's working really well together, right?
We have to. We had to do something that's very hard, because all of our employment agreements are they're mutual negotiations. They result in a contract. Because of the economic downturn, the economic downturn had two really bad effects on the county finances. Number one, in the county general fund, we're primarily property tax driven. And the general fund funds things like the sheriff and the jail system and the district attorney and the basic services. Now, we got a lot of other services, and I can come back to those, but those basic services are funded by the general fund. Well, the general fund is almost all based on property tax. Well, in the last downturn, the downturn that started in the 2007-2008 area, well, a lot of that was a collapse of the housing market and the real estate market. Well, that meant that property taxes dropped pretty significantly. Mm-hmm. The other effect of that is we have what's known as a defined benefit retirement system. Well, when you have a defined benefit, you're paying people the same regardless of what the system is earning. Mm-hmm. Well, when it's not earning as much, and the whole stock market dropped and all of the earnings dropped, well, that meant that the county had to put in more. So at a time that our property taxes were going down, the retirement costs were going up.
Right.
We were faced with what I consider a very significant dilemma. And that dilemma is service levels had already dropped because we were cutting costs. We had to cut costs. And as we got down lower and lower in service levels, we had to ask a question. At a certain point, can we really keep the unincorporated areas of the county, and indeed the county as a whole, safe? And the answer was, no, if we have to keep cutting services, we can't. Well, that only left one real alternative, and that was to go to the employees and say, can you help us? We need your help. As a county, all of the people, all of the businesses, we need your help. We want you to start picking up some of the things that we have historically have paid for.
Right.
And almost every single one of our unions and all of our employees agreed to do that. And we're very appreciative of that. They stepped up and they agreed. There were only a couple that the board had to do what is very politically unpopular, but good governance. They had to impose contracts on those last couple of groups that weren't willing to come along and help everyone.
Right. And the union should be commended for their efforts in supporting what
The union should, the employees should.
Right. Right.
Because the employees understood it was more important to take care of the service levels and the people of the county than their own benefits. And that's commendable.
And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of the county departments. And I would say to a man or a woman, these are some of the best employees in the state.
Unquestionably. A lot of people don't know it, but this is an award-winning county and an award-winning staff. This year, we got 31 National Association of County Awards for outstanding programs. That's the third highest in the entire nation. So they really are an award-winning staff.
Here, investing in their first appearance, supporting their first bonds, protecting their first teeth, preparing their first day of school, and the foundation for the rest of their lives. We're here, investing in their first 5 years. We are First 5 San Bernardino.
Let's switch subjects real quick. What's your top 3 priorities for the county?
Well, there have been over the years a lot of things, because there are so many needs. There have been some things that haven't gotten addressed and haven't gotten taken care of. I really care long term, and the board really cares long term, about how we're able to function as a county. And that means that we have to have good underlying operating systems. It also means that we've got to take care of all of our infrastructure. And by our infrastructure, I mean everything from the roads to the buildings we're in. All of those kinds of things mean that the employees can perform even better and provide even better service. So my top priorities have been, we have a financial accounting system that's over 20 years old.
Right.
A property tax management system that's over 20 years old. A land use permitting system that's over 15 years old. Well, all of those systems need to be updated. Now, saying that is easy, but that's millions of dollars. Each one of those, the financial accounting system will be $25 million. The property tax management system, the same thing. So we've got to invest in those, though, to make sure that the operations run more smoothly. So it's more convenient for the public to access our services.
Right.
Same kind of thing with our facilities and our roads. Historically, they weren't putting enough money in to maintain them and keep them up and give the staff the proper support to provide the highest level service possible to the community. And so my priorities have been, let's build this solid foundation. Let's get our finances straight, so that we've built a solid foundation for the county to move forward. From now to 2035, the projections are that we're going to add another 1 million people. We're going to increase by 50%. We're just slightly over 2 million now.
Right.
We're going to be over 3 million people. Well, you need all of your systems and all of your infrastructure to be working at the highest level to be able to address the services for all of those people. That's what we want to do.
If we double size and we have issues with water, energy, etc., it's going to be some challenges.
It's a lot of challenges. And that's why, when I first got here and I talked to the board about doing the countywide vision process, I grew up in West Virginia, and I'm just a simple kid from West Virginia. And we had a basic premise, it's real hard to get any place unless you know where you're trying to go. Well, that's why the countywide, not for county government, but countywide, we all needed a vision. We needed the people of the county to say, this is the kind of county we want for the future, so that we all knew what we should be working on. Right. Whether it was the business community, the nonprofit community, the faith-based community, or government, we all needed to know, what's the kind of community that we're trying to build? Right. So we went out and we had 20-some community meetings. We had groups of experts in everything from housing to healthcare, education, transportation come in, talk to us. We had 6,000 residents that filled in online surveys, to tell us this is the vision we want for the future of the county. Well, we created that vision, and our board adopted it. The Sandbag Board, which is the Council of Governments, all of the cities in the county sitting together, they adopted it and said, this is what we're working on. This is what we're working toward. So that was critical, so that we all know how we're going to use the resources. What are we all going to work on together?
And we actually use a powerful document because we on our TV show have adopted it to our whole countywide vision as far as local television.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And we landed exactly into the messages that's in the county vision. To be committed for that.
Well, and it's great. Almost every city in the county has adopted it. A lot of school districts have adopted it. A lot of special districts have adopted it. We've even got businesses that adopted it and said, yeah, this is the countywide vision that we agree we're all working toward.
Outstanding. Now, we have a very large county.
Huge.
Huge.
Largest geographic county in the continental United States. And that's out of 3,000 and almost 3,200 counties, the largest geographic area in the United States.
I'm really impressed how you can run this thing, but we have some unincorporated areas out there that's, people out there feel neglected sometimes.
Yeah.
And how much focus is given to those areas that...
One of the other things I asked our board to do was adopt very clear goals and objectives in terms of that countywide vision. And one of their number one goals was to increase service levels in the county unincorporated areas. The part of the push and pull with county is, working with the cities and trying to help them, but we have a real core responsibility for the unincorporated areas. And this board said, we may have gone too far the other way. We need to pay way more attention to the unincorporated areas. And so that's part of the goals and objectives. And those goals and objectives, that vision, those goals and objectives, that's what we build our budget around. So you'll start seeing in this year's budget and the next coming budgets a lot more concentration on those unincorporated areas. We need to do more community building in those areas.
Exactly.
And we need to develop, the board has funded a new general plan update. And part of that general plan update is creating community plans for all of those unincorporated areas so we can plan out how are they going to grow. Do they want to grow?
Exactly.
We've got areas of the county that don't want to grow. People saying, no, we like this rural lifestyle. We don't want a bunch more houses. We don't want a bunch of businesses coming here. We'll go elsewhere for our services.
Welcome back to our community, brought to you by the CYAP.
So tell me some other things that the county does.
Well, I've had the good fortune. I'm older. I've been in this business for over 37 years. I got to do a little fellowship at the federal government when I was young. I started out in state government back in my home state of West Virginia, and then came to California to work in cities. And as you know, got very privileged to be the city manager in Fontana and then Ontario for a long time. And then finally came to the county. So I've pretty much run the gamut of the levels of government in the United States. My contention is, and I believe this, that county government is the least understood form of government in the scheme of United States government. Now, we all pretty much know what the federal government does. I mean, the defense, Social Security, things like that. We all pretty much have a good idea of what state government does, state highways and things like that. We all pretty much know what cities do because we live in cities. So, police department, fire department, streets, parks. So we all understand that. Well, what do counties do? Well, part of the confusion is across the United States, counties range very broadly in terms of the kinds of things that their state charges them with doing. So on the East Coast, they don't do very much. Even the National Association of Counties says, those are the ones that do the least. You get in the Midwest, they do a bit more. In the West, they have very broad responsibilities and authorities. And the way I explain it is, county government is in 4 basic businesses. The first business, biggest by far, is the social safety net. So health and human services. We have the county hospital that has over 3,000 employees, one of the busiest emergency rooms in the entire state. That's a county function. The Department of Public Health, the Department of Behavioral Health, which is mental health, Children and Family Services, Adult Protective Services, Transitional Assistance Department that provides everything from food stamps to job training. So the Health and Human Services, by far the biggest business. Second biggest business is the law and justice system for the whole county. Now, I'm not talking about the sheriff in terms of his role as a policeman, which he does for the county unincorporated and contracts with a lot of cities to do that. But really, the county-wide service is the county jails. So as the county provides the county jail system, the district attorney, probation, public defender, all of those things that are part of the county justice system, the law and justice system, those are the second biggest business that we're in. Third biggest business is really what I call backbone kind of services. The assessor, that's a backbone service. The auditor, controller, tax collector, we do those not only for all of the jurisdictions, all the cities, all the special districts, all the school districts in the county, but even the tax collector sends money to the state. They're actually performing that function. Assessor and tax collector, they're doing it for the state. So we've got all those backbone services, county roads, those are backbone services. The smallest part of our business is what most people know us for, and that's providing municipal services in the county unincorporated areas. And the last thing that I'll say on that point is, most people don't understand. Cities are independent corporations and independent jurisdictions. County isn't a corporation. The county is an arm of the state. We are a geographic and political subdivision of the state. So we're an extension of the state. And that makes sense in terms of all of those social safety net programs. Those are things that either the state has themselves or the federal government gives the money to the state, and the state says, here, counties, we need you to implement these programs.
Well, does that make some sense in that the western states are larger?
Well, that's it. I mentioned earlier that we were the largest geographic county in the continental United States. Out of those 3,200 counties, we are the 12th largest by population. Now, what that means is we have a geographic area larger than 9 states and more population than 14 states. So your point is absolutely accurate. It's part of the size of California, the size of the western states really dictates that the state can't do it all. And you know, a lot of the things that we do in the rest of the United States, they're done at the state level. Public health, behavioral health, which is mental health, probation. A lot of those are done by the states in the rest of the United States. Out here, we, the county, do that, which really means that the county is the regional government for this area of the state.
One of the big pluses I believe our county has is that the leadership of these departments that you're talking about is superior. I've had the privilege of meeting quite a few of these department heads, and I'm just awed at them sometimes. Again, the people are definitely the most important, but the strong leadership we have here takes us to another level.
Well, it does, and I really want to make an important point, and I want to make this to all the people. It is true right now in this county. I've talked to a lot of people who have watched the county for decades, and I can't say forever, since the county is well over 150 years old, I can't say whether this is true clear back in time, but certainly for the last few decades, for quite a long time, there has never been a period where there's a better working relationship between the Board of Supervisors, the CEO, the sheriff, the DA, the district attorney, the auditor controller, the assessor, all of those separately elected constitutional officers. We work together as a team for the benefit of the residents and the businesses in the county better than perhaps any time in history.
That's outstanding.
Now, I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of the people. I mean, we just have terrific people in all of those areas.
It's just the Board of Supervisors that we have right now. They just seem to work so well together.
They do work well together, you know, and they enjoy each other. And working well together doesn't mean that everything's going to be unanimous.
Right.
It means that they've learned that important art of being able to disagree and have policy debates without being disagreeable.
Exactly.
Or without making it personal. It's not personal. They are the elected representatives from their district. It's important that they're able to express the needs and desires of their district without that being personal. They do it the right way.
Right.
They do it because it's a policy that needs to be debated and decided in order to figure out what's the best decision for the whole of the county.
Right. So, what keeps you up at night? Something that...
Oh, you know, I think some of the things that keep me up at night is that our service levels aren't high enough. I worry about that deputy that's having to patrol a very large area out in the desert, knowing that we don't have backup for that deputy for 45 minutes or an hour. We've got to correct that. I worry about, when I first got here, the backbone radio system that most of our public safety agencies use was very old, and they were having to scramble around to get replacement parts. I worry about that because it's our responsibility to make sure that those public safety officers can talk to each other in order to keep people safe. So I worry about things like that. You know, we had a tragedy not long ago with the Dorner situation. I mean, my whole career have, I think unfortunately, I got the call that I never wanted to hear while I was in this kind of position, and that's that one of our officers had been shot and killed, and another officer wounded. Never wanted to get that call.
Right.
That keeps me up at night.
Right. You know, plus our courageous firefighters as well.
Yeah.
They put their lives on the line for us every day.
They do, and people don't see how big those operations are. And the emergency service operations people that are behind that, and all of the county employees that take off one hat and put on another hat if the emergency's big enough.
Right.
You know, and they have an obligation, and this is a hard obligation. Think about
Exactly.
this. Their obligation is, no matter what's going on, they don't get to go home and check on their family. Their first obligation is to the people and the businesses in the county.
And people
Your
don't
first
realize-
job and what you had to do was you had to come in to make sure everybody else is right before you even got to check on your own family. That's a hard thing.
Yeah. The county has some great services, like the 211 program.
Yep.
I'm working with Public Defender Phyllis Morris Green coming up and doing a record expungement fair in a couple of days in the High Desert. Can we do a better job of getting the word out about all these great things? Behavioral health, some great opportunities out there.
Well, I think we can do a better job, but it's tough. And you know why it's tough is we have over 60 departments and we've got so many services. And the hard part that I think is just what we were talking about before, that people don't understand what counties do. Well, our array of services is so great that you only end up contacting the county when you need something particular. And so, I think we've got to rely on programs like yours, and we do everything we can to get the word out. Can we do a better job? Yeah, we need to, but it's tough because we have so many areas to cover to get all of the word out on all those. We've got to rely on shows like this.
I want to thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you, Jiles. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right.